Journey into the world of Monster Hunter, a place where humans coexist with monsters, where hunters take on and slay these beasts for fame, fortune, maybe a few monster carves, or to give rise to a new legend. Deep within the forest, a group of hunters darts through the foliage to give chase to a wyvern in the sky. One of them wears a familiar set of armor. The target of their hunt is revealed, Yan Kutku, the first test that any novice hunter would have had in the heydays of Monster Hunter before swimming was introduced as a mechanic in Tri, and subsequently forgotten in every game since then. Capcom, if you're listening, swimming was a good idea, and I for one would love to see it brought back in a mainline series, please, and not just in that Monster Hunter Outlanders mobile game. It lands in a clearing, seemingly unaware that the group is hiding in the bushes, which is a feature that wasn't brought to the series until Monster Hunter World. It is a nice touch to see that the monsters in this manga are being taken seriously instead of just being the fleshy punching bags we often treat them as in the games. If you're good, anyway. Otherwise, you are the fleshy punching bag. And as a punching bag myself, I would know. The group pops their heads out of the bushes for a better look. Their nameless leader wears the hunter's armor and wields an iron lance. Quinn is equipped with Jaggi armor and a light bowgun, and Fang sports bone armor and a hunting horn. The fact that the armors shown are so faithful and recognizable to a Monster Hunter fan makes it such a treat to read, and I just want to reread everything again to pick up the little details I might have missed the first time around. Our nameless leader asks Quinn to disable the Kutku with a paralyzed shot, and instructs Fang to assist. Before he can deliver the next set of orders, Raiga charges out of the bushes in a near-perfect imitation of Leroy Jenkins. The Kutku notices too late as it feels the pain dealt by a large slab of sharpened bone swung by Raiga, who smirks with the confidence of a hunter familiar with his prey. That checks out, considering he is wearing their kin as his armor. The other three hunters jump out of the bush as the lance wielder calls Raiga an idiot, not wanting to waste their time after they've finally found their target. He reminds Raiga that they only have until sundown to hunt the target, as ordered by the Hunters Guild. Players familiar with the game might be nodding their heads in understanding at this point, as we are all too familiar with the time limits on these quests. It's cool to see them translated into times of day, like sundown or nightfall in the manga. A bit of trivia. The full day and night cycle system was first introduced to the series in Monster Hunter Tri, where each hour in real life translated to a full day within the game. So a full day cycle in the manga would turn out to be 60 IRL minutes, which is the typical time limit of quests in the games. Neat, huh? Raiga, after hearing this, just smiles and promises to finish it off quickly, even if the Lancer did point out that he was shocked at how little time they had left. Understandably, monsters in Monster Hunter don't really respect yapping, and the Kutku charges at the Lancer, who blocks it. Quinn fires back while Fang assists with his hunting horn, buffing up the team as they mercilessly gang up on the poor wyvern. They manage to deal some decent damage, but Raiga jinxes it by celebrating a bit too early. Two bullfangos suddenly start charging towards them, emerging from nearby bushes. Fang and the Lancer dodge and block the charging annoyances respectively. In the confusion, Raiga's attention is split, which provides an opening for the Kutku to strike. Raiga is forced to block the Kutku's hammering pecs with the flat of his blade. Our greatsword hunter falls to the ground, his hand hurting from the blows, unable to react in time as the Kutku prepares itself to fly away thanks to the diversion provided by the bullfangos, which were quickly slain by the others. They stare blankly up at the sky as they come to the realization that they forgot to paintball it. The Lancer blames Raiga for charging at it, even though when you think about it, there were 3 other hunters who could have thrown their own paintballs. Having no time, they're forced to split up despite the risk, with the Lancer telling them to paintball the Kutku immediately after spotting it, so everyone else can follow the smell. 2 things come to mind before I continue. First, smell? This little detail in the manga made me look up how paintballs are supposed to work in the game, and sure enough, one of their crafting materials is a paint berry, which is described in-game as a berry containing sap that oozes a formidable odor. And just like that, the manga educates me on something the game always had. All this time, I thought the painted monster dripped paint trails on the ground for the hunters to follow or something. That's why I love transmedia storytelling. And second, looking at the background, we could see that they don't have any bag of holding inventories and they just lug stuff around in their literal cart pulled by Fang. Looking at the contents of that cart, we see a large barrel in it. To the unfamiliar eye, it might appear to be a simple provisions container, but to anyone who's played the franchise, it's instantly recognizable as a large gunpowder barrel. Seems like this could have played a part in their original plan had Raiga not messed it up. As he splits off from the rest, we learn that Raiga comes from a small, unnamed village far from Dundorma, the focal town in Monster Hunter 2. While Dundorma has a lot of hunters, their village only has a few local hunters to protect them. We then find out the reason behind his goal of becoming a full-fledged hunter, to take up the mantle of his village's protector, as their current village hunter is slowly succumbing to the sands of time. Just as the sun sets, his time literally running out, Raiga hears a growl from the distance, discovering the injured Kutku from earlier in a narrow valley. He slowly inches towards it, but instead of paintballing it like instructed, he again summons his inner Leroy and just rushes in. A fight ensues, and we're treated with the sight of him nearly getting lashed by the monster's tail. He dodges, and before the Kutku could follow up with a second attack, the monster gets shot at from off-panel. Raiga looks back to see Quinn shooting at it, and both the Lancer and Fang charging at it, with the Lancer dealing a powerful blow to its neck. Youch. Even when the Lancer reprimands him for not paintballing, all of them are confident now that it's close to death with its ears folded back. However, the damn bird wyvern prepares to fly out again, and the Lancer worries that they won't be able to find it in time this time. Quinn is out of ammo and has to reload as well. Not sure what Fang's excuse is, but to the surprise of the others, Raiga appears behind its back and lands a critical upward swinging blow right at the Kutku's gut, smacking it back to the ground. Nothing personal, kid. The entire squad is surprised at how he managed to get behind the Kutku, but Raiga notices the monster limping away, and he tries to get his bearings to launch a follow-up attack before it can escape. However, the Lancer raises his hand to stop Raiga and tells him about a trap they had prepared up ahead, prompting what might be the coldest view of the group as they silently follow the young Kutku's death march. As for Raiga, he understands as well that he has a long way ahead of him to become a real hunter. He believes he will be able to do so if he sticks with his current group. All of that soon shatters when back at the Dundorma Tavern the very next page, the Lancer announces that their party will now disband. Their leader breaks out in tears as he makes a speech, telling them to work hard on their own paths, while leaving a confused Raiga so surprised that he knocks down his mug. The other two do not mind the disbandment, stating their own reasons. For Quinn, her parents are getting older, and she has to return home. For their leader, it is all because he was invited to another party, which his girlfriend just so happens to be a part of. Meanwhile, Fang's constant use of the hunting horn made him realize that his calling is to be a bard. Raiga wonders if Fang means to perform music while dressed the way he is, and I for one say this world needs more heavy metal bards, so rock on, Fang. Left all alone, with parting words of encouragement from his former teammates, which to him sounded more like mockery, Raiga grits his teeth and proclaims that he will go to greater heights on his own. All of that bravado soon leaves him after a few days as he realizes the pains of being a solo hunter, which means having to use twice as much gear as you would have with a team. Something that is a reality, especially when playing multiplayer in Monster Hunter. Monsters in guild quests tend to be scaled for multiple hunters, and not for a solo one, even if it is possible. Back at the tavern, our protagonist wishes for a well-done steak while thinking about his current situation. As if tripping the desire sensor, the true endgame boss of Monster Hunter, also affectionately called RNGesus, a guild receptionist carrying a plate of sizzling, buttery, well-done steak meant for another customer passes by, making Raiga perk up and drool at the sight. The receptionist apologizes for the food's tempting aroma and hurries along. Raiga bangs his head as he comes to the conclusion that if this continues, he will have to give up and go back to the village. He starts breaking down as he realizes that he can't just go back home after all he has done. However, in some twist of fate, an old white-bearded hunter approaches Raiga, saying he's been observing him for quite some time. He's wearing a cowboy hat and leather armor S, and wielding the Fist of Fury, an actual weapon from Monster Hunter Freedom 2 and Freedom Unite, which absolutely needs to be brought back in the modern games, Capcom. Over a mug of water, Raiga tells the old hunter his story. Old Man Hunter understands how difficult the lone hunter lifestyle is. Raiga questions if it's just bad timing, considering how all the good hunters in Dundorma are already teamed up, like the longsword-wielding twins. Even so, there are some solo hunters, like the Demon, but these paragons seem to be an exception to the rule. In my headcanon, these exceptional hunters are like the hunters that players of the game play as. We're often described as harder, better, faster, stronger than the rest, which is why the games pit us against truly earth-shattering enemies, the likes of which would simply melt any normal hunter. And oftentimes we have to do it alone, or at least with our palico companions lending a paw. Knowing that the teenage hunter is unlikely to find comrades, the old man puts fist to palm as he comes up with an idea. He suggests going to Loc Lac, a land where few people visit. He speaks of unknown towns, hunters, and hunting grounds, and we see silhouettes of a Jaggi, a Barroth, and a Lagiacrus in reference to the latter. Such a place could offer a new start for those without anywhere to go, and nothing else to lose. I have to say that this description of Loc Lac doesn't seem all that right to me. Loc Lac was the multiplayer hub of Monster Hunter Tri, and while the servers were up, it was probably the most unique, well-populated gathering hub in the entire series. Maybe within the context of the manga, it could be a relatively low-pop town, but it never felt that way to me, as someone who got into the series on Tri. Of course, now that those servers are gone and the entire town is inaccessible to players, I guess the description fits? For those of you who might want to see Loc Lac in all its former glory, perhaps take a look at this video by Flyan. It's a love letter to Loc Lac, and such a blast to the past for someone like me. Also, fun fact, those three silhouettes, the Jaggi, Barroth, and Lagiacrus, are milestone monsters in Monster Hunter Tri. The Jaggi is the first monster that you fight, the first big one anyway. The Barroth was introduced in Monster Hunter Tri and is kind of a pretty big wall that you had to get through to unlock multiplayer, and Lagiacrus was the flagship for Tri. Raiga is interested in the idea, but he doesn't plan on staying long in Loc Lac, understanding that he has things to do back in Dundorma. The old man pulls a Rurikon and offers a tip of the hat to say goodbye before telling Raiga that a group is departing in the morning, and advising the young hunter that exploring the world would do him some good. The next morning, the young hunter is running through the busy streets of Dundorma while holding onto a large sack in a worried rush, concerned about having overslept. As he reaches the mossy goalposts that indicate the edge of the town, he is greeted by both the old man from yesterday and a fully clad gunner whom we already know as Keres. Raiga apologizes for the delay, while the gunner reminds him that he was supposed to be there earlier. Curious, the greatsword hunter asks who this guy is, and the old man replies saying that Keres will join him in going to Loc Lac. Raiga is pleased by the prospect of being paired with a new partner, whereas Keres is doubting the old man's decision. The old man just states that since they're both from Dundorma, it'd be easier if they teamed up. However, to Keres, hunting together means trusting someone else with his life, something he can't bring himself to do considering how Raiga just proved he couldn't even be trusted with showing up on time. Raiga eases his mind and introduces himself as someone training to be a great hunter. The gunner thinks he's all bark, and Raiga reminds Keres that he's also the same hunter rank as he is. Sidebar: in the games, hunter rank is clearly displayed to all players in a lobby, but experienced players would also be able to determine another's capability by the gear they wear, just like how Raiga is able to determine that he and Keres are of the same rank. In fact, equipment choice can at times be a more reliable indicator of hunter rank. While the numerical rank is something anybody can grind away at by repeating low difficulty quests after unlocking certain milestones, wearing armor or wielding weapons made out of a certain monster's parts means that the hunter must have been able to defeat it. A Of course, there are hunters who choose to wear lower level gear for the challenge, or in the name of fashion, but that's probably beyond the scope of the manga at this point. Karez admits that yes, they are both novices, which is why he's taking this chance to train seriously, unlike Raiga, who, to Karez, appears to have just decided to pursue the hunter's path on a whim. Raiga takes great offense to that comment, and the two argue about how they won't be able to get along, and are both already planning to find someone else to party with once they reach Loc Lac. It's worth noting that Karez hadn't even shared his name yet, so the old man calmly introduces him to Raiga, saying that they should get along better since they'll be the only ones taking the trip. The sudden revelation of being the only passengers on the voyage shocks the two as they finally board the ship to Loc Lac. On board the vessel, the two fledgling hunters are wearing their casual inner clothes, which are the same underclothes that we see upon character creation, while they scrub the decks on a sunny day, arguing the whole time. Well, at least they agree that they won't be able to get along on the trip. We'll see how they manage to stand hunting together in the next video, as we close out this chapter and turn the page to Monster Hunter Flash Hunter Chapter 2. Monster Hunter Flash Hunter was written by Keiichi Hikami, with art by Shin Yamamoto. The English language version was released in 2016 by Viz Media.